A picture, they say, is worth 1,000 words. But what about this one? Tianjin, China, September 1st, 2025. Three of the world's most powerful men, China's Xi Jinping, Russia's Vladimir Putin, and India's Narendra Modi, they are not just meeting. They are projecting an image of easy camaraderie. There are smiles, handshakes, and at one point, Modi pulls his counterparts closer, their hands clasped together. An interpreter's microphone catches a fragment of Putin's words, "We three friends." Before the audio feed is curiously drowned out, this carefully choreographed moment, broadcast to the world, wasn't an accident. It was the defining image of the 25th Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, a gathering that China's state media hailed as the largest in the bloc's history. But behind the smiles and the symbolic hand-holding lies a complex web of strategy, rivalry, and necessity. The question isn't just what they were doing, but why, and perhaps more importantly, at whom were they smiling? To understand the significance of this moment, we first need to understand the stage. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, or SCO, was founded in 2001. Initially a small group comprising China, Russia, and 4 Central Asian states, its stated purpose was to settle border disputes and combat regional threats like terrorism, separatism, and extremism. Over the past 2 decades, the SCO has grown significantly in size and ambition. With the inclusion of heavyweights like India, Pakistan, and Iran, the organization now represents nearly half the world's population and a quarter of the global economy. Its scope has broadened from security to include economic and cultural cooperation, leading many to view it as a Eurasian counterweight to Western alliances like NATO. The organization champions what it calls the Shanghai spirit, principles of mutual trust, mutual benefit, equality, and respect for diverse civilizations. At the Tianjin Summit, leaders signed a Tianjin Declaration and approved a development strategy through 2035, aiming to build what they call a more just and equitable global governance system. President Xi also announced plans to accelerate the creation of SCO Development Bank and pledged billions in loans and aid. 2 member states, on paper, it's a vision of a cooperative, multipolar world. But the timing of this particular summit, and the unusually warm display between its 3 most prominent leaders, tells a story that goes far beyond official communiques. The unspoken guest at the Tianjin summit was the United States, specifically the America First trade policies of the Trump administration, which have created friction with nearly every nation present. For years, Washington has been engaged in a trade war with Beijing, but in August 2025, the focus shifted dramatically to India, citing New Delhi's continued purchase of Russian oil and military hardware. The Trump administration imposed a sweeping 50% tariff on Indian goods. This move was designed to be punitive, to force India to align with Western policy on Russia, but it appears to have had the opposite effect. The tariffs left New Delhi feeling cornered and with, as one report put it, little incentive to hold back from displays of friendship with Moscow and Beijing. Suddenly, improving relations with China, its largest trading partner, became a strategic imperative for India. This context is crucial. Prime Minister Modi's trip was his first to China in 7 years, a landmark visit aimed at thawing relations that had been frozen since deadly border clashes in 2020. The 2 leaders pledged to be partners, not rivals, and announced the resumption of direct flights. For Modi, the SCO Summit was a platform to signal to Washington that India has other strategic options. Meanwhile, for Vladimir Putin, the summit was a welcome diplomatic embrace. Largely isolated by the West since the invasion of Ukraine, the SCO provides one of the few major international platforms where he is not on the defensive. The image of him being courted by the leaders of the world's 2 most populous nations sends a powerful message that Western efforts to isolate Russia have their limits. The optics were reinforced by a widely reported car ride, where Modi and Putin spent nearly an hour in private conversation in the back of the Russian leader's limousine. So we have a convergence of interests. India seeking leverage against us economic pressure, Russia seeking to break its diplomatic isolation, and China seizing the moment to advance its own global leadership ambitions. This has led to talk of a new troika, a Russia-India-China axis poised to challenge the US-led order. But is this alliance real? Or is it simply a marriage of convenience? Dig a little deeper, and the cracks in this facade of unity become apparent. The most significant obstacle is the deep-seated mistrust between India and China. The two nations are locked in a decades-long border dispute that remains unresolved. Beijing's all-weather partnership with Pakistan, India's arch-rival, is another major source of tension. One former Indian ambassador put it bluntly, "The dragon and the elephant are not dancing as yet. They are just looking at each other from opposite sides of a room." India's actions reflect this caution. While Modi engaged warmly with Xi and Putin, New Delhi conspicuously skipped a military parade held in Beijing just days after the summit, a clear signal of the limits to this thaw. Furthermore, there are questions about the SCO's effectiveness. Critics have long dismissed the organization as a talk shop, heavy on declarations but light on tangible action. The summit's vision of equality and mutual consultation was also subtly undermined by a telling detail reported from the media center during the main session. The audio feed was reportedly available only for President Xi's speech, while other world leaders were shown on video without translation. A vision of equality where, it seems, some voices are more equal than others. So what is the final takeaway from the smiles in Tianjin? The summit was undeniably more than just a photo op. It was a clear manifestation of a shifting global landscape where the actions of one power can create unexpected alignments among others. U.S. trade policy, intended to punish and isolate, has instead provided the catalyst for its rivals and even its partners to find common cause. The troika of China, India, and Russia is not a formal alliance, and it may not be a lasting one. The deep-seated strategic rivalries, particularly between New Delhi and Beijing, are very real, but for a moment on a stage in Tianjin, their interests aligned. They presented a united front, sending a carefully crafted message to Washington and the world. The photograph captures a paradox, a display of harmony masking deep complexities, a friendship born of shared grievances. Whether this moment marks the beginning of a durable new bloc in a multipolar world, or simply a fleeting chapter in the great game of geopolitics, remains to be seen. That's it for today. Thank you for watching.